Hey guys, let's talk about the idea of success and how we measure it because there is this pitfall that a lot of people fall into that robs them of their joy as they experience success along the way and also as they hit their goals. Okay. So I want to share this with you so that hopefully you can avoid it and not make the same mistakes that I and so many other people have. All right. I'm going to start by telling you the true story of the backstory of how I hit, or the moment that I walked the purple carpet as a diamond. Okay. It is a pivotal moment for someone in my business that it's the goal, right? When you first start in doTERRA where I work, you want to hit diamond, right? Everybody wants to hit diamond. That's the dream. And you get to walk across the purple carpet. They throw confetti at you. You're all dressed up. This is the vision in my mind. Your team is there to hug you at the end of the carpet. And you celebrate together, all of your combined achievements and the work that you've done. So when it actually happened for me, because that was the image that I would hold in my mind when I would visualize it, right? And it helped to motivate me and it helped to give me a direction and it really helped me to bring that vision into reality. So on the night when I was actually walking for convention, the reality was very different than the ideal, than the dream, than the image that I had. I had the hair, I had the makeup, I had the dress, but a lot of my team was not there because they weren't yet able to leave their jobs. Okay. My family was not able to be there, nor was my daughter because it was work and school, right? Um, and I did not realize this, but when you're all standing backstage waiting for your moment to go across the stage, there's about a 2-hour wait for your turn. And so here I am standing back there with these 4-inch heels, no place to sit down. And I couldn't just slip my feet out because they had like strappy things. And so I was concerned that maybe I wouldn't be able to get them back on in time and I would, miss my turn. And, we had to stay in order and blah, blah, blah. So I just kept them on and suffered. And so by the time it was my turn to walk across the stage and walk down the stairs, I was in so much pain that I walked down the stairs, I walked across the carpet, and I took my shoes off and I walked barefoot right out of the building and 4 blocks to my hotel and spent the rest of the evening alone by myself, feeling sorry for myself. That was not what I had imagined my night would be. Oh, well, and one other thing too. I thought that once you hit a rank, right, you kind of stay that rank. I didn't understand that you can hit a rank, but then the next month you haven't solidified it, right? Like maybe you hit a rank because you've had a big sale or some promotions that you have been able to, kind of be strategic about. But your solid everyday rank may not be what you spiked up to, right? So as I'm walking this stage, I'm actually a platinum. So there's this voice in the back of my head saying, you don't deserve this. You're not really a diamond. So all that to say, that night was not the happy moment that I had envisioned. I did not feel like a success. I felt like a fraud. What should have been an incredibly pivotal, happy memory in my mind for the rest of, the years in doTERRA, it was a disappointment. And so it colored how I felt about myself for a while. But it was when my friend Ron Wilder shared a book with me that I suddenly recognized, oh my goodness, I'm not just being silly or selfish or whatever. It was a trigger that my brain defaulted to. And I want to share that with you so that hopefully you can avoid falling into that same pitfall because maybe you've been working towards something. Maybe it's taken longer than you expected, or maybe you reached it and fell back, right? Maybe it's not what you thought it was cracked up to be and you're feeling bad. I remember hearing one time about a gold who quit. And I thought, why in the world would you quit? A gold is making about $4,000 residual income every month. Why in the world would you walk away from that? Where else can you? But I understand the idea of if you're focusing on the wrong thing to measure your success, you start to just go down this spiral of negativity and feel helpless and hopeless. And anyway, let me just show this to you here. So this is based on a book by Dan Sullivan called Learning How to Avoid the Gap: The Skill of Building Lifetime Happiness. All right. It's a real skinny book. It's a really simple concept. All right. So if you've noticed, there are a lot of successful people in the world. You may be one of them, right? But that does not guarantee that you're happy. Some people who are successful are very happy. Others are not. And so why is that? What makes some happy and others not so? And the answer is it really depends on how their brain works and what they're using as their frame of reference to measure their success. So here's how your mind works, okay? We think of our progress almost like a pathway, right? And so we have the actual, and that's our actual achievements and our life results. And this is where we are right now, right? Then we have the ideal. That's the perfect. That's where we want to be. That's that thing off in the horizon that we're working toward, that we're running toward or walking toward. It's that picture that we create about our future, and it doesn't really exist, but it does help us establish goals, motivate ourselves, withstand and overcome hardships and obstacles, right? Helps us visualize the thought and manifest that in reality. But it's always a moving target, right? Now, what Dan Sullivan calls the gap is the difference between the actual and the ideal, okay? Now let's talk about the concept of the horizon for just a second. We see this at the ends of movies a lot, right? Where the characters are walking off into the horizon. We envision the horizon symbolically as the place where everything is perfect, right? It's where we're going. It's the end of our journey. It's the ideal, okay? And we understand that in real life, if we get in our car and we drive to the horizon, it doesn't just end. We don't actually ever arrive, do we? Because we get to that point, like you look at the picture right there, if we drove to that point, once we get there, there's going to be more land that opens up in front of us. So we can then look at the horizon from there, drive to that point, more land will open up in front of us. So we can understand intellectually and emotionally that the horizon is a concept that doesn't really exist. It's a moving target. If you think about your goals and the ideal picture of what you have in your mind for what you want to achieve, it's kind of like the horizon. It only exists in our minds, but we think it can be reached. And so it can become a real source of unhappiness for us and the people around us when we never are able to actually reach it. Now, some of you may be like, hey, hold on a minute, Tiffany, are you saying that you can't reach goals? No, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is it's how we think about our goals, right? How we want to frame the concept of this ideal. Does it have a purpose? Does it have a use? Absolutely. And successful people, if they don't realize that there's a permanent gap between their actual achievements and the ideal, they have a high chance that they will lead chronically unhappy lives, right? They will make the lives of others around them unnecessarily difficult and frustrating, right? Because they're not enjoying the present. They're not enjoying the journey, right? Because they're chasing that moving target. And it's a constant source of frustration because they can never get there, right? And a lot of times it's usually the most talented and ambitious and successful people in all fields of activity, not just building a business, but in all kinds of things. So maybe you know someone like that, or maybe that's you, right? So our ability to be happy depends on how we measure our achievements. Okay. So here's this graphic again in a slightly different way. So we've got the ideal, we've got where we are now, but you know what? If we take a minute and we look back at where we started, this is a different way to train your brain and how to measure your success. And you will find that you will be much happier. Okay, so the purpose of the ideal is to set a course, give us direction, help us dream and imagine big things, and help us set our goals. And that is absolutely important. But we don't want to use the ideal to measure our achievements. Okay, for all these reasons here, right? It's not achievable. You'll always miss the mark. You will always feel deficient, right? This will lead to all of these feelings of failure and frustration, and this expectation that never comes to fruition, right? So what do we do? How do we measure our achievements? The measure of your success is not the future, the ideal where you want to be. The measure is how far you've come from where you've started. And don't we do that with our kids? Don't we tell them things all the time like, oh my gosh, look how far you've come. This time 6 months ago, you couldn't hit that ball. And look at you. Now you're hitting home runs. Or look how tall you are. This time last year, this is the mark. Now look at the mark that we're drawing on the wall. Look how far you've come, right? Or let's compare what you're doing in math now compared to what you were learning this time last year, right? Or maybe you're running, 2 seconds faster on that quarter mile. I don't know, whatever it is. Why don't we do that to ourselves? Why, why, why don't we do that? It would be a much kinder way to treat ourselves, right? So when you do that, these are real and measurable results. They can be verified by others. You get this sense of accomplishment and achievement. And guys, the future is always better than the past as long as you keep going forward. So in business, you can look for things that you can tell yourself. You can say, yes, I can see that I am going forward. I am moving forward. Maybe you can measure it in terms of numbers, like the size of your organization or the number of people that you have brought on board. Maybe you can look at your skills that you've developed, the confidence, your level of confidence, and your ability to give presentations or to be able to speak your truth confidently. When you're also looking at your paycheck, right? What kind of paycheck are you getting? What kind of bonuses are you getting? Are you earning residual income, right? That's an amazing achievement. If you built really hard in the past and you're living off of residual income, that's incredible. Now, some of you may be watching this and you're saying, yeah, but it's only $50 a month. Guys, do you know that to live off of $50 a month for doing nothing at this point, right? Residual income. To do this in like financial terms, you would have to have 100 grand saved in, like invested. That's equivalent to 100 grand invested where you're living off of 5% interest. That would give you $50 a month. Do you have 100 grand invested where you can live off of that kind of residuals? right? That's huge. That is something to be proud of. Now, also, it's something to say, wait a minute, let's not shoot the milk cow because that cow is producing milk. We can probably actually grow this cow, make her, even more productive, right? So guys, I think that I don't really want to belabor the point. I think I've made my point, and I want you to think on that. Okay. So the next time you start to feel frustrated, the next time you start to feel upset or negative about your goals or not reaching them or not getting to where you want to be, I want you to stop and be kind to yourself and say, wait a minute, I'm focusing on the wrong thing. I'm not measuring my success against where I want to be. I'm measuring my success against where I came from and how far I've come. Okay. All right. I hope this is helpful. I hope that you have an amazing day. Go out there and do your thing and be proud. Okay. Because you are creating change in the world, and the world needs to hear you. They need to hear your voice. Okay.